Shadow Man is an interesting game. Here we have a third-person adventure game with elements of platforming, shooter elements, and the progression of the game kind of acts like a Metroidvania. Getting into this game, it took me quite a while before I really knew what I could even say about it, because overall it's just a mixture of genres I've never really played before. Let's fire up the old N64 and take a look back at one of the most mysterious titles I now own, Shadow Man. The game kicks off with a voice-acted cutscene, which are pretty few and far between on the N64 considering the length of these cutscenes. The story is confusing to me, having only played through it a single time, but it starts something like this. Jack the Ripper is lamenting over all the people's lives that he's taken. He talks about how his methods could never really yield the result that he was seeking all this time. That result being to obtain higher power through the collection of human souls. Realizing how awful a situation he's in, he almost takes his own life before being stopped by a man having appeared in the doorway of his hideout. This man is Legion, and he's here to show Jack the soul power he seeks does actually exist. He offers Jack the opportunity to help him build a grand cathedral for themselves and others like them, where they will construct a soul engine, harness its power, and create an immortal army to punish and cleanse this pathetic world. Sorry, I got carried away. He tells Jack that the place they will construct this asylum is in Deadside, a world not meant for the living, and without hesitation, Jack takes his own life. We cut next to our protagonist Shadow Man sleeping next to a woman named Agneta. She wakes up from a dream of some scary JPEGs and tells us that the 5 heralds of the apocalypse are here now. She reveals that some strong entities within Deadside are going about gathering dark souls, not those, in order to cross into the living world and bring about the apocalypse. Shadow Man already knows he's the only one who can stop this, as he's the only living bridge between both worlds. The protectors of the Dark Souls, not those ones, are all gone now, as they were powerless to stop the evil that's coming, so it's basically our job to collect as many as we can in order to stop them from getting into the wrong hands. Shadow Man sums it up pretty well here.
So let me get this straight. If I don't recover these Dark Souls, then the world's gonna end. Am I right?
You got it.
Shit.
And with that, we're off. We run through the living world for a while to get to Agneta's house, where she'll give us a bunch of supplies she's been keeping safe for us, and then it's off to Deadside. These two worlds, Deadside and the world of the living, will both be visited numerous times throughout the game on our way to completing our goal, but most of the game will take place in the former. Deadside is a much cooler place anyway, so I was definitely down with that. In the world of the living, we're just a guy with a handgun. There's not much else to say about it. The game plan is pretty simple. Upon reaching Deadside for the first time though, our handgun is upgraded to a soul shooter of some sort, and it's very handy for taking out any monsters we might cross paths with. This game has a sort of tank control style system, but with our action roll, jump, and strafe options, it's fairly easy to get used to moving around in this game. While strafing, any enemies caught in the middle of our screen will be locked onto, causing us to strafe around them rather than just strafing side to side, which is actually pretty intuitive during combat. And while this combat is pretty simple and stays that way even with future upgrades we may come across, this game has a much larger emphasis on its exploration anyways, so let's take a look at that. This game having as much platforming as it does really surprised me on my first playthrough. I thought it would be a run and gun type of adventure, but there are actually many places where you need to utilize platforming skills to move around certain rooms, and I'm all here for it. Platforming with tank controls is a little weird at first, but the only real effect it causes is that sometimes during platforming segments you'll stand still for a second while you're turning. Not a big deal for a game that doesn't really move that quickly in the first place. Using our platforming skills, we're set to find as many Dark Soul pots as we can throughout each area. Collecting enough of them will eventually move us up a notch at a time in our purple Dark Soul meter in this corner, allowing us to move through certain doors that require a set number of notches. There isn't really a hub world in this game, but typically every area will reach a dead end eventually, causing you to leave the area and either find another one to enter, or explore previous ones with the new abilities you may have come across, but we'll get to those abilities in a second. There are a few other mechanics that can be explored using this purple meter, that being our charge shot, as well as a secondary ammo system for the baton weapon we'll be finding early on in Deadside. Firstly, rather than firing our soul pistol at enemies 50 times to take them out, we're able to charge our shot as far as our purple meter is filled out, giving us a more powerful attack. Even with just 3 or 4 of these notches filled out, this shot starts to become much more damaging than our regular pistol shots, so I would recommend using this as much as you can. Around the world, there are clay pots that you can shoot for item drops as well, and these can drop either health or golden skulls. These golden skulls will stack up in your inner meter here with the golden tiles, and you can hold as many as you have notches of Dark Souls in your primary purple meter. These golden charges can be fired out by your baton rather than just swinging it around at melee range, and these shots are quite damaging as well. Given you have to find and collect ammo for it, I would certainly have hoped that was the case. If you're ever facing a ton of enemies at once, or you just want to get someone out of the the way quickly, these golden charges are perfect for the job. Let's talk about these special abilities I alluded to earlier though, as I didn't really see anything like this coming when I started my playthrough, but I think they add a really unique element to the exploration of the game, making it much more Metroidvania-esque than ever. The first special ability you'll be finding your way to in this game is the ability to withstand flames. There are certain blocks that will burn you when touched that you can now push out of the way, as well as flames in many different areas that you can now walk or climb right through. This power nicely adds a bit of red to Shadow Man's arms, which I like as a visual sign of progression, and the power itself is really useful to have. Now flames you usually have to jump around can easily be avoided or run straight through without a care in the world. The second power, just to give you more of an idea of the tools we'll find in order to fully explore this world, is the waterfall climb. This is pretty self-explanatory, but still something I completely did not expect until the moment that I got it. There was never a waterfall I thought it was obvious I'd need to get to the top of at any point, but now with this power, there are so many locations that opened up to me in a flash, allowing me to explore every area I'd been to all over again in order to find everything that I could. There are boss fights here and there, both in the living world and in Deadside, but they didn't really seem to be a big focus in the game, which I actually liked quite a lot. Shadow Man is much more an exploration and puzzle solving game than a game hosting a robust system of combat mechanics anyways, and I had quite a good time playing through it. If you like old interesting games that serve as a perfect depiction of what gaming was like back in the 90s, I recommend you play Shadow Man. And if you like videos like these, maybe stick around by subscribing to my channel. I upload videos every single Friday and have been for more than 6 months, so there's plenty for you to go over. Clicking the button in the top right of the screen will take you to my playlist full of popular and obscure N64 games that I've covered so far, or you could just click one of these videos on screen now if you're interested in seeing more from me. As for this week though, that's my time. My name's Myloe, and I'm out.